I just think he's got the class.
Well, he's my nap at the meeting.
It's not even worth. It's just a question.
I haven't laughed that much for a while. That's it.
Our producer has come up with a game. It's not original. It has happened before. But basically what's going to happen is I'm going to put these headphones on and then I've got a whole load of horrible noise going into my ears. You're going to mouth words with your mouth and I'm going to try and guess them just by your mouth movement. I mean, to be quite frank, I'd quite like noise-cancelling headphones every time I'm in the studio with you for the whole show. But this is apparently just a game.
Right.
It sounds like a ridiculous game.
I'm not.
If you are,
get on with it.
If you listen. If you are listening on Spotify right now, I'm not quite sure how this is going to come out. If you're watching on YouTube, enjoy my misery here having to look at Paddy's mouth. Anyway, so I'm going to take my earpiece out now. You need to take over this conversation because from now on, I will hear nothing. I won't hear your voice, which is going to be blissful. All I can hear is
I'm ready.
am I shouting?
I'm ready. Yeah.
All I can hear is horrible sound.
Shut up. You're more
Okay.
nine than you normally are. Beecher's Brook.
Have we started?
Yes.
Okay, say that one again.
Beecher's Brook. Beecher's Brook.
Be anything.
Are you tick or what? Beecher's Brook.
Beecher's Brook.
Yes, finally. Nico de Chastel. Nico de Chastel de Bonville.
I've no idea what you're talking about, honestly. Hair.
Nico.
I've just done that one. The chair. Hair.
Nico de Chastel de Bonville.
I'm not sure you're getting this game. You're meant to be mouthing the bloody words to me. What are you doing?
You
playing with
tick
your
or
hair?
what?
Did you mouth the word?
Nico de Chastel de Bonville.
Move on. Next one.
Paul Nichols. Paul Nichols.
No, move on. Next one.
Lalumba. Lalumba.
Corbière.
Lalumba.
What?
Lalumba.
Try and do that a bit slower.
Lalumba, you tick.
I've absolutely no idea what that. I'm going to go L'escargot.
Stumptown.
What?
Stumptown.
Right, next one. This is terrible on Spotify.
Yeah, you're shocked.
There's no fun in this at all.
Gigginstown. Gigginstown. Fly la.
Oh, Constitution Hill.
Oh my God, you're riff. Gigginstown.
Sorry, if you're listening on Spotify, Patty's just done an aeroplane
Gigginstown.
impersonation, so I knew it was
Gigginstown.
Constitution Hill straight away.
Gigginstown.
Oh, Jigginstown.
Gigginstown. Yes. Valentine's.
Paddy's just blurred me a kiss if you're listening in. I've no idea what that means.
Valentine's.
Valentine's.
Yes.
Never, ever blow me a kiss again on this show. Ever. Although it's so much nicer not having to listen to you.
Yeah. Right, give me that.
Am I done?
Yeah. Give me.
Oh, that was lovely. Didn't have your voice if I may. Right, stick those on. That's my turn. Here we go. Shush.
The chair.
Yep.
You don't have to spell it out.
The chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The chair. Well done. Red rum.
Red rum.
Well done. Bin Duree. Bin Duree. Bin. Dustbin Duree. Dustbin Duree.
Next one.
Next. Useless. Okay. You were absolutely this also nearly fell. Saint R.
What?
Saint R.
The chair.
I mean, it's shocking, isn't it? All strains every single
Next one.
and you can't even get its name right. Saint R. Saint R.
What?
Saint R.
Santerre.
Oh, hey! You only bloody wrote it into second place.
Next one.
Fool. You get this one. Single farm payment. I mean, that's one. Only Tom could think of that. Single farm payment.
Silverburn.
It's so obviously 3 words, and you've come up with 2 words. Right, move on. This is just a crap one. But Tom's picked it. You will never get it. It's just the most bollocks thing. Tripoli flyer. I mean,
What?
exactly what? Right, move on. Move on. It's not even worth it. It's just a question. Tripoli flyer.
What?
Tripoli flyer.
Trouble.
Yeah, that's it. Looks like trouble. Well done. All right, next one. Harry Cobden.
Harry Cobden.
Yeah, model, no jockey. Yeah, Harry Cobden. Here we go. Okay. Iroko.
El Rocco.
Yeah! I tell you what, I'm so much better at this than you. Okay, Pad. So before we start, just this week, I've got 2 special guests on who have won the Grand National. Because to be quite honest, there wasn't much point in having you in to talk about the Grand National. I mean, double honour, unseated rider, Bewleysbury fell, Fundamentalist fell, Nowhere pulled up, it literally was nowhere, Irish Raptor fell, Giles Cross pulled up, Saint R pulled up, Perfect Candidate pulled up, Chase the Spud pulled up, Single Farm Payment useless. To be fair, you did finish second on St. R, but you should have won that race behind Many Clouds because, of course, you made an absolute Horlicks of Beaches. So, all in all, shocking. Okay. You're giving me that death stare. Okay, let's get on with the show. But sorry, I mean, what can I say? Let's just get on with it, okay? Let's try and cheer up for the rest of it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 21. 21. Who'd have thought it? Of Unbridled, in partnership with our beautiful sponsors, BoyleSports. We have made it. We've been absent for a week, but the waiting is over. Some of you have been glued to YouTube, glued to Spotify, waiting for episode 21 to fall. It is here. You in good form, Pat?
Yeah, all good, man. Good to be back. Don't like taking time off, so here we are. Good to go.
Well, you've been everywhere, mainly because of a huge success up at Kelso for the Paddy Brennan Racing Club. As I always say, when you came to do this show, we never wanted, you never wanted to plug any of that. But I always said to you, if things are going, you ever want to sell a horse, this is the place to sell it. Yeah. If you ever want to advertise you're doing well, this is the place. You've done well.
Been lucky, Matt.
Well, it's not luck, is it? It's you.
Well, the Lupus, she won a £100,000 race at Kelso. We figured out it was the same prize money to the county hurl. Incredible. Not quite a Uwick story that cost £800, but it ain't far off it.
And a race you won as a jockey a few years before. It was beautiful.
Yeah, Kelso deserve a lot of credit. It's a race we target, and we're looking for the next one now.
Now, the people, of course, don't know this. Grand National wasn't great for you, was it? No.
No, man, it wasn't good.
Were you just scared of the big fences?
I was too mad to be scared when I was younger. I just wanting to get your first ride in it. You're like buzzing, like I'm riding in the National, you tell everyone, and there was no real social media when I started. It was just, you had to ring everyone to tell them, I've got a ride in the National. It's unbelievable. But as you got older, you realised that, hold on a minute, me giving entertainment to people here, there's only one man ending up in the back of the ambulance, and that's me.
If you got such a buzz for riding in it, why did you not get round?
Yeah, Matt, look, there was times where inexperience, Bewleysbury had decked him, no doubt about it, Beechers down to it, looking for a long one, like no experience, brain dead, out in your head, bang, straight into the ambulance. But there was times when I was at the start, Matt, and I could look down, decide, where are the ambulances? Because I knew I was going to be in one of them. And there was one day, especially, I think a horse called Ardahay. Yeah, I knew the minute the tapes went down, which fence it was going to be. Anyway, third fence flew out over his head. I was never as delighted to wake up and feel everything in my life. And again, straight for the ambulance.
Great jockeys didn't win the Grand National.
No.
John Joe O'Neill, trained one, couldn't ride one. John Frankham, arguably, don't they call him the greatest jockey? No Grand National. Peter Scudamore, multiple champion jockey, no Grand National, AP, hundreds of years. Richard Johnson, he didn't win the National, did he, Dickie? I don't think so.
No.
Great jockey. So you're in good company.
Well, if you're trying to make me feel better, you ain't. I didn't win the Grand National, so let's move on.
No, but you finished second. Talk me through St. Art. Many Clouds, you were closing all the way to the line. Did you just leave it too late?
No, it was great. I was so pleased with that ride, Matt. I did everything right. I got a run, but there was Leighton Aspel. People never realised how good he was. I don't think many other jockeys might have won on Many Clouds that day. He was just, it was always one. But I got so excited going over the Mellon Road. I was shouting to jockeys beside me, I'm going to win the National. I was that confident. And everything that could go right went right. But I got a taste of it, Matt. Started planning the celebration and that halfway up the run-in. Nice feeling that. But Matt, celebration wasn't needed.
Well, the problem is, unless you're Spartan Missile or Crisp, no one remembers second place, do they?
No
one.
Second, not worth.
Who was second in the 2021 Grand National?
Don't know.
Who was second in the 2018 Grand National?
Not worth.
Who was second in 2016 Grand National?
Matt, the only thing second's good for is your bank account. That's about it. No one knows. Just your bank manager.
If you wanted to set up a racing club, though, then that's good.
But it's all about winning, Matt. It's all about winning.
It is all about winning. Before we get on to the Grand National, which of course is going to take centre stage in this podcast, this is episode 21 of Unbridled in association with our kind sponsors, BoyleSports. They're terrific sponsors. Haven't kitted us out with anything yet, have they?
Good though.
No. But nothing really.
No
goodies, no crate of champagne, no hamper of food, nothing. Let's talk about the races leading up to the big race. Now, obviously, on a podcast that comes out on a Wednesday evening, talking about Thursday, Friday, it's going to go out of date fairly quickly on that score, but people like to know how hopeless we've been. So let's go through some of the big races. Let's start off. First race, bang, straight into it, 1:45. It is the Manifesto Novices Chase on the Thursday. Django Bay, who I've got to say, horses in my life who've done me a favour. Django Bay in the Arkle. Probably one of the biggest of my whole career.
Great call.
Print, podcasts, everywhere. One firm went 10-1 Django Bay on my behalf for the Arkle, and it was the most extraordinary win. I've deserted him in the Manifesto. I think this will go to the former Grade 1 Aintree winner in Pair A Pass for Paul Town and Willie Mullins. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think of all the horses in the Arkle, Django Bay probably had the least hard race. So Matt, I probably didn't back you fully up for the Arkle, but I would stick with him here.
Would you?
I would, yeah. I think, and if you look through it quickly and you look at it, it involves the top end of the betting. I would have said top three, but I would go with Django Bay.
Yeah, certainly the step up in trip is interesting. They were even considering going 3 miles.
Yeah.
But they've gone to 2.5. I think that's perfect.
And Matt, what a great story for the owners.
Tony Barney, yeah.
Brilliant, He's lost his son in a car accident and the same initials, so all the best to him.
He did message me the other day. He's going to be there on Thursday.
Brilliant.
For this race. Not surprisingly, really. Why wouldn't you be there? But he is going to be there. Juvenile hurdle at 2:20. No Lulamba. Surprised about that?
Yeah, I was a little surprised, Matt, but the more I watched Lulamba and the triumph at Cheltenham, the more I don't think there was a lot of excuse, and I think he had a pretty hard race. Live Conti, I think, was his biggest 10-1 early in the week. He's the one. I've bigged him up all season. He's in great form. Bridget Andrews rides him out every day, and she couldn't be happier with him. He loved the ground. Yeah, look, I think he's got a massive chance.
Live Conti goes for Dan and Harry Skelton. It is fair to say, I think the one thing that people listening to this regularly will have discovered, Paddy, is you're a little bit of a Skelton groupie.
Well, no.
No, you are.
I can see. I get on well with Harry Skelton. There's no secret about it.
Yeah, but you're in there, aren't you? You're in the camp, really.
Yeah, but I'm not. Look, there's lads in there 7 days a week. If you pop into Dan's, you pop into Fergal O'Brien's, you're not. You've got to understand there's lads in there doing the work. I just come in and be nosy and get out there and try and cause an argument.
Which I imagine you do quite well, yeah?
Yeah.
But you are a bit of a groupie, you are.
Yeah.
A little bit of a Skelton. More than Fergal, I think.
That's a bit unfair.
No, I don't think so. No, I think you're more into Dan Skelton than Fergal O'Brien.
No, I wouldn't agree with that. Fergal will always be loyal to Fergal.
I thought Naturally Nimble might have a little each-way chance in that. I actually fancy that horse at Cheltenham. Didn't run at Cheltenham. This was a horse that won at a massive price, like completely unfancy for Joseph O'Brien, then ran pretty well last time. I thought Naturally Nimble might have a little each-way chance. Right, the Bowl is at 255.
Great race, Matt.
Grey Dawning, Spillane's Tower.
Yeah.
Ahoy, senor. Gaelic Warrior up in trip, Stage Star. It is a belter. Who do you think will win?
I'm going to stick with Grey Dawn, and I've sort of been a fan of the horse all season. And you say I go on about the skeletons, but he's had a lovely prep for this. They dodged the Gold Cup on purpose, this being the aim. Yeah, I think he'll be very hard to beat, and he'll absolutely love it. I think a beautiful sight. He's almost white now, and I think he's got a massive chance.
There's a horse in here with the same form figures as you had in the Grand National. PPF. That's Ahoy, senor.
Yeah.
Now, I've napped him.
Yeah.
In this race. Napped him. Admittedly, 8 runners as we speak, each way, get more than your money back if he's second and third at the moment. The reason I've done it is this. Okay, his form figure's currently a PPF, but that only tells half the story. He was still cruising in the Gold Cup when he fell last time. But he's run 6 times at Aintree, and his form figures at Aintree, 6 times, 1-1, 3, 2-2-3. 6 runs, 1-1, 3, 2-2-3. So I couldn't care less about his form right now, to be honest, Pat, because if he is ever going to bounce back and win a big one again, it's this race at Aintree. You can forget all the others. For whatever reason, he comes alive on one of the most tricky jumping tracks in the world, even though he's not a very good jumper.
No, and you know what? I don't disagree with you. He and Patrick Wedge, big ride for him. He's done extremely well over the
Wedge or Wadge? Wadge.
Wedge.
Wadgy?
Whatever. He's been brought on lovely by Lucinda and Peter Scudamore. I think, I'm not going against you there, but man, he's got to jump. At the end of the day, you've got to jump, and if he gets that together, of course, he's got a chance. But great on him for me.
I'm just seeing here. I must in here have somewhere. Yeah, let's just see very quickly. I'm not sure he'll answer, so I'm not even going to say who it is. Here we go. Right, let's go.
Who are you?
Scoo!
You all well? You're sounding bright and well.
I am. You are live on the Unbridled podcast with myself and Paddy Brennan.
Oh, right. Morning, Paddy. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you, sir?
I wish I was half a million behind you, I tell you.
Well, I mean, you're in good company because we're talking about the Grand National, and of course, neither of you ever won it.
Well, you can interpret that in a bitter, twisted manner. Stu, you've won 4, but I've got 5 if I take the fathers as well. But, I know you're a bitter, twisted, jealous man, and my looks, my modesty, and my ability to keep going at such an age. But I will leave it at that.
Well, all I know is when your other half's Lucinda Russell, you need to have an ability to keep going and be right on it, because she is right on it all the time. Scoo, the reason we're really calling is that I have napped Ahoy Senor Thursday. Form figures of Aintree of 1-1-3, 2-2-3. It's a pretty stupid question, but I'm good at those. If he is going to win a big one, again, it's going to be this race on Thursday, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I've always felt he's a horse of enormous ability. You often turn up at these races and think, today's the day. I don't know, life doesn't work like that, but he's clearly capable of doing it. He's clearly a better horse round Aintree for whatever reason he is elsewhere. So I always try to manage my expectations in these situations, and I think we travel with hope rather than expectancy, but we have got hope.
I think you're talking bollocks, Scoo, because I know you and I know how much you love this horse. Underneath it all, I reckon you really think. Go on.
It doesn't matter what I think; it's matter what happens. Look, the horse is fit and well. As I say, life doesn't work like that. That's why he will be the price he is, because he's 4 or 5 to 1. He has an excellent chance. There are no sits. And ask Mr. Brennan, who sat. We have many a time gone out in races, and unless you're riding for Martin Pipe, who says it's a certainty, and don't come back unless you win. Most of the horses are not certainties. They have excellent chances. I remember Fred Winter used to say to me, you go to the races, you have 2 or 3 to as you come back with 1 or 2 winners, you had a good day, and that's what really it's about. He has the chance. The race forms into his way. If he gets into his rhythm, if he jumps, doesn't do something stupid, he has an excellent chance.
And finally, Scoo, you might not have ridden the Grand National here, although you did get that great spin off Corbière one day. But you've now trained one with Lucinda. In fact, you two. Yo, I was about to hold on. I hadn't finished a sentence.
It's like people come up to me and say he was 7-time champion jockey. I was 8 times.
7.5, surely.
Yeah.
But if you could ride or train any horse that runs this Saturday, which one would you be on?
Well, obviously, I'm going to do a jockey's thing, suitable thing. I'm going to sit the fence a little bit. I think Stumptown, but ask Mr. Brennan. I think Beauport has a great chance. Of the British runners, Beauport puts up 1 or 2 exceptional performances, and on his day, he's a good horse. So he may fly the flag for this side of the RSC, but I think Stumptown has my utmost respect because he's won over the distance. He's clever enough to jump those fences, so he has chances.
And finally, Scoo, because we won't keep you too long, but you've got a horse, Derry House and Paddy, in the stable, and I was very lucky to be at Utoxeter a long time ago when he won there, and I remember afterwards just thinking, Christ, this is an absolute monster. But you told me, and I don't think you've told anyone else this yet, but you've told me that this is the closest horse you've come to Carville's Hill since you rode the Great Carville's Hill.
Yeah, because you've said to me before that Ahoy is Carville's Hill, and he's different. This is more like Carville's Hill. This is more. He has his issues, but he's a very, very good horse in his day, and I think he proved that at Cheltenham. The horse having had such little experience to go there. Look, he looks a good 3-mile novice hurdle. Also, the Wendigo of Jamie Stone's behind us, the 2 in front of us. They look good horses.
Peter Scudamore, what a legend. I tell you, I absolutely mean it when I think that he's almost forgotten as a champion jockey. Like 7.5 times champion jockey, 8 as Scoo would say, because he drew 1 year. But I put him right up there with McCoy and all of them, Ruby Walsh, all of them.
Yeah, a lot of the top jockeys took plenty from him. And he's... If you're a jockey, you'll always remember Peter Scudamore as many others.
Anyway, we got onto that because we were talking about Ahoy Senior. But you're Grey Dawning, I'm Ahoy Senior. Grade 1, Aintree Hurdle. Oh, God. Oh.
Here we go.
Here we go again. Okay, you say your nonsense and then I'll give the winner.
Do you want them or not?
Yeah, stick these on.
Lossy Mouth for me. Finally get our chance to take on Constitution of Guild since the Christmas hurl, and I think she'll win. You can take him off now.
Okay. Right, I don't know what you said, but you'll have said those are noise-cancelling headphones. It's beautiful, actually, when you're working with you. But you'll have said something along the lines of Lucy Mel's going to beat Constitution Hill, even though she's 15 pounds inferior on official figures. Look, we know Constitution Hill is the greatest hurdler we have ever seen. We know that 2.5 miles probably isn't his best trip, but it doesn't matter.
Does matter, though.
Why?
Well, it does.
He's won it before.
Doesn't matter. It was one of his least impressive performances.
So? It was still impressive. Yeah. Do you remember it? He won on the bridle, and people say it's unimpressive. Yeah.
So he's coming in this race off the back of a fall. Does that concern you?
He's coming in this race off the back of 2 magnificent wins and a fall.
Right. But let's speak about the fall.
Why?
Well, you don't want to be doing that again.
Well, obviously no horse wants to be falling again.
Right, so when Lossy Mouth was coming in on the back of a fall to Cheltenham in the Champion Hurl, you were ruling her out, so what about him?
Say that again, if Lossy Mouth...
When Lossy Mouth was coming into Cheltenham in the back of a fall,
yeah,
you were ruling her out of the Champion Hurl because of a fall?
No, I wasn't. I shouldn't put words in my mouth.
Right.
I ruled her out because she wasn't good enough to be Constitution Hill.
Okay.
Nothing to do with a fall. Don't try and put words in my mouth, Patrick Brennan. I'm not Fergie O'Brien that you're trying to make some excuse for a shocking not-off ride at Utoxeter. It's like Constitution Hill is a great.
Right. So you think he'll win?
I think I've made that fairly clear. Yeah.
I don't think he'll win. Lossy Mouth will win.
Okay. So tell me this. When Imperial Commander unseated at Aintree, you presumably didn't think he could win the Grade 1 on his next start at ADOT.
Didn't fall though, did he?
He unseated.
He didn't fall, did he?
If it's even worse, isn't it?
Constitution Hill didn't unseat,
He
did he?
didn't really make any sort of mistake at all, and yet a certain Paddy Brennan just fell off him.
He didn't. Look, Constitution Hill, hell of a horse. I'm not knocking the horse, but I'm just...
You are knocking him.
No.
I'm not going to ring Buckers because
No,
I don't want to put him through the pain barrier.
No, don't do that.
Or shall we?
I'd give that a miss. No, I'd leave that.
Okay. Because you still haven't done dinner, have you?
Anyway.
Just in case, because it is a 2-week gap, still, some things don't change. Time moves on, but some things do not change. No dinner date.
No. So I think Lossy Mouth will win.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Good. Anyway, so Constitution Hill wins. We're in agreement, yeah?
Lossy Mouth will win.
What? Will win what?
The Aintree hurl.
No, she won't.
Why won't she?
Because Constitution Hill's going to win.
Right, move on. Next one.
Okay. The Hunter Chase, I don't know much about, but I thought Famous Claremont would take all the beating. And that really wraps up the big races on the Thursday.
Oh, no, look, can we speak? There's a few nice runners in that bumper now I wouldn't mind speaking about.
Well, go on then.
Blue Betty.
Oh, I've tipped Blue Betty. Keelan Woods, and it's a Megson, isn't it?
If Keelan can just Matt, just do this, look, relax, just breathe in. And sometimes in the weigh room, I used to get up to go out and ride, and I was like so angry. I'd sit back down, count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stand up again, then go out and ride. Keelan, do that. Blue Betty, chance.
Do you like horses who come off the artificial, though? That was my only worry, is never run on grass.
Tripoli Flyer didn't too bad coming off it, did he?
Nope. That is probably the most sensible thing you've said so far, and you've said a lot of rubbish so far, but that wasn't actually bad for you. Should we go on to Friday?
Yeah.
Decks are through at the time of this show, and Caldwell Potter takes on Dancing City handstands in the 145 Grade 1 novice over 3 Mile 1. I'll be a Dancing City man in this because I think it's just a grinding race. I'm surprised they've gone so far with. I'm not. Nichols is convinced Caldwell Potter is a strong stayer.
I'd love to have seen Caldwell Potter in that 2.5 feature race.
I think he's pace.
So do I. But look, I was against him at Cheltenham, as was the most people, and you weren't. So,
do you think he would have been lapped in the Arkle?
I don't know.
No. I don't know.
3 miles a big shout. In this race, I do like handstands. You'd be looking at thinking they'd wish they'd ran in the Arkle the way it turned out, but they didn't. And the change in man at a big price. I think he'll run well.
So the top novices hurdle comes up a little later on. Deep chance for Romeo Coolio. I thought he ran a cracker at Cheltenham.
Big chance. I'm a massive Tripoli Flyer fan. I've probably been against him a couple of races earlier in the year on bad ground. But he's my nap of the meeting. He's got so much in his favour. Look, I watched his race at Kempton again yesterday. He's got a jump. You cannot go around Aintree in Grade 1s jumping like he did at Kempton. I think he'd be very, very hard to beat.
Do you?
Some engine, Matt. Honestly, he has some engine.
You rode him on his debut at Chepstow, didn't you?
Yeah. It didn't go down great now, but I was thinking, I looked after him. Wasn't happening, and I'd say if you look through that race, the horse that finished in front of him that day didn't do too much. On that ground, you look after a horse in his bumper. You got it.
I would call that, what that was a looking after. Look at this been running comment. It's absolutely shocking. Midfield, headway throughout, kept on, never placed to challenge.
Yeah, wouldn't have been great now, Matt. I was a bit confused leaving that day, and I'd say Fergal O'Brien had to do his best to talk me out of that ride because wouldn't have been ideal.
He was an 8-1 shot, but then he went to Lingfield under a certain Paddy Brennan, and he was held up even further, but came flying through late, and he looked really good.
Yeah,
so off Kingston Pride, he's not a mug. Kingston Pride.
I was never beat that day, and he was impressive. And if there was a horse that would take him on, he'd have been even more impressive. He got left in front, and he has some engine. Might see him on the flat one day.
Yeah, he's still got a bit, I think, to find to beat Romeo.
Yeah,
Coolio.
but Romeo Coolio, Matt. He has been to Cheltenham. You go back on the boat to Ireland. You get back on the boat to come to Aintree. Not easy to do, Matt. It's a lot of travelling. And yeah, if he's at his best, he'll be extremely hard to beat. But you've got to put the Cheltenham factor into it. He's been to Cheltenham.
Melling Chase, I haven't at this moment decided what my selection is going to be in this, but I do think there's an opportunity for Protectorat to put it right up to John Bon, and I might be tempted by Protectorat in this over the 2.5. I know John Bon's won at this trip, but in such a small field, look, El Fabiolo, I don't really care about anymore. Matata's not good enough. If Matata goes off in front and Protectorat sits second to him, John Bon's going to have to be right. I'm trying to just position the race. John Bon's, and who knows what El Fabiolo could do. He could go off in the lead as well, but of course he's in the same ownership with Matata, so you'd think one of them is going to be held up.
Yeah.
Protectorat is a strong stayer. If he's jumping for fun, John Bon's going to have to be right on his game to go past him, I think.
And as well, Matt, Protectorat, he would obviously prefer slower ground. And you know what? When you're a horse that's getting older, that becomes more important, I think. More miles on the clock. Slower ground would be a bigger advantage to him. I think that is a slight concern. Look, John Bon, did he have a hard race at Cheltenham? I'm not sure if I'd have to look at it back. He made a bad mistake and he's come from a long way back to be second. If he turns up in that kind of form, he's going to be very, very hard to beat.
Okay, I think that's closer than it looks on paper. And you might be right about Protectorat, but the ground might be bad for him. But I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get to Saturday. Let's go through.
Whoa.
What else do you want to talk about on Friday?
Jack Hyde, my syndicate horse, runs in the conditional jockeys race. Hopefully he'll run very, very well.
Yeah, as I say. Then we get to Saturday. Jack Hyde.
Yeah. And for my first syndicate year, I'm pleased to have a runner there, and all these connections are looking forward to a nice day out, so hopefully he can run very, very well.
You know what I like about Jack Hyde? Because I was Southwell 2 runs ago. He struggled. Then he was
he didn't struggle, mate. He just couldn't go any quicker.
Yeah. Then he was really impressive last time, having struggled the time before. I think he's going to make a lovely chase.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it just happens that this when I watched him at Southwell last time, I thought if we're ever going to go for a good race, it's now. And I was really.
Who rides him?
Jack Hogan.
Right.
Unfortunately, Tom Broughton, who rode him last time, couldn't ride him because it's for conditionals and amateurs, and you have to be under, I think it's 26, which is a shame. Stupid rule, but there you go.
Tell me, which did you enjoy most? The last year of your riding career or the first year out of riding?
Oh, yeah, man. I was 2 years, the last 2 years, tough. Just, I was scared of not being able to go in that way room anymore, and I knew when I called it, that was it, you're out, gone, over. Once you say you're retired, move on. This year, yeah, I've loved it.
This podcast?
Yeah, this has been...
You've been on other podcasts, traitor. You've been on 5 Live at Cheltenham. Boxes coming out of every orifice before racing. I'm telling everyone, Lossie Mouse going to win the champion hurdle. I'm so pleased for you.
Thank you.
Right, should we get to Saturday? We're obviously at the time of recording, we don't have the decks, but we have a pretty rough idea of what's going on. There's the Mersey hurdle, which now features Lulamba.
Interesting. Very interesting. And look at Matt, as a 4-year-old, you do get, is it £12 he gets, I think? Is it that much?
She's on 11 stone, 10 stone 11. He's on 10 stone 11, and Regent Stroll, for instance, is on 11 stone 7.
So yeah, £12. It's a lot of weight, Matt. And the trip would help. He had a hard race at Cheltenham. I know I keep banging on about Cheltenham and Aintree, but he did, and Nico gave him the perfect ride to go and win. And I didn't look at it thinking further was going to be the answer right now. I could be wrong. He's a very warm price favourite, but Horse's Pearl has done absolutely nothing wrong. He's won all starts to date. Conor Brace gets on extremely well with him. It's a big day for him, so I'll be shouting for him. And at 8-1, I think he's a massive price.
I think he's an absolute good thing.
Who?
Lulamba.
Okay.
Because I just think sometimes the horse is just better.
Yeah. And
I think this is a class. I don't think we saw the best of him in the draft.
The rule of the £12, Matt, though, is it's not there's a reason they get £12. It's not as easily as it might seem, but you could be right. You get the £12 for a reason.
Yeah, but this is why I'm not so sure about it, because it's a general rule to cover all horses. For lots of horses,
yeah,
it wouldn't be enough weight. But if you have an exceptional horse, it's too much weight. And I think this is exceptional.
Fair enough.
I think he should have won. I think you ran that Triumph Hurdle 10 times. Lamba wins it 9 out of 10.
I'd just take it 8-1 horses pearl each way for me.
Okay. Aintree Hurdle, 305. Staying, 3 milers. Same old sort of list of horses, to be honest. I mean, Tiapu's going to go off probably quite a short price favourite. And
probably one of the more open races of the meeting, isn't it, Matt?
Well, it is, because if the ground wasn't soft enough for Tiapu at Cheltenham, it's going to be even, well, it might not be even faster, but it's not going to be any softer at Aintree, is it?
No. Look, he's
Liverpool heatwave. The hottest 3 days in the history of Liverpool coming.
Yeah, tough enough for the horses, but hopefully they're kept watered down and everyone comes back safe. But yeah, the last year's winner, the Ollie Murphy horse, you'd have to think strong leader. If he came back to his very best, he loved the ground. We know he loves the track. He's been trained for the race. You'd have to give him a big chance.
I think there could be I think even Monmirail could run well at a massive price. I think there's a possibility of an upset in
the Wall Park as well. I wouldn't rule him out.
So, Pad, I know it annoyed you, but as I said at the top of the show, you're almost pointless when it comes to the Grand National. Let's just remind people, just in case they've skipped to the middle of the show for something interesting. Unseated rider 2005, fell 2007, fell 2008, pulled up 2009, fell 2010, pulled up 2012, pulled up 2016, pulled up 2017, pulled up 2018, 8th 2019. Okay, yes, you did finish second in 2015, but even then you threw victory away by a terrible error at Beechers, which cost Santar success. So what I thought was, what we need is a man who does know how to win the Grand National, and he's a man you know well. Funny enough, when you look at you're kind of same age group. It's Carl Llewellyn, 2-time Grand National hero. Welcome to Unbridled, Carl.
Morning, guys. You all right?
Very good. Now,
Morning, Carl.
The thing about Carl Llewellyn is he's not only a Grand National hero, but he's got reputation. He has got reputation. When I say for being mean, I don't mean it in a nasty sense. Like, he has been very careful with money and made an absolute fortune out of the game, like John Frankham, absolute fortune. And I think it wasn't he? You were telling me he was a bit of a playboy in his younger days.
No, I absolutely wasn't telling you.
You did say that. You said he was a right goer. Look, we're here to talk about the Grand National. You won it twice. Party politics in 1992 and Earth Summit in 1998. Take us down memory lane with party politics in 1992. It was the year of the election, wasn't it? So it was a fabulously popular name as far as winning the race. But the main thing about him was he was just this giant racehorse, for those who've never heard of him.
Yeah, he was massive. And his regular rider, Andy Adams, broke his leg at Doncaster in the January. So I'd never ridden him in a race. So I was very lucky to get a spare on him, and things worked out well on the day. And he won well. He was a massive horse and jumped the fences very easily. Just lucky, and he won very easily. So I'd have had to ridden worse than I normally do to get him beat that day. So I was in the right place at the right time.
It was the days of really big fences, and as you say, he did just skip over them if they weren't there. It was almost like he was running in a 2025 Grand National. Was it kind of easy? And what kind of buzz did you get out of it?
It relatively was easy. Yeah, I mean, if you avoided the trouble in the race, which is important in them days, with a lot of loose horses and no runoff areas, then it was easy. As in, the obstacles were easy, and he travelled very well throughout, and won very well. So, relative, you can never say that race is easy, but it was relatively easy for that race. Yeah, massive thrill. I mean, the biggest adrenaline buzz. I mean, it's a massive adrenaline buzz just to ride in the race, but to win it was just, all your dreams come true. So I was very lucky, and my fortune was Andrew Adams, who is normal rider's misfortune.
And I've never ever heard a jockey say they're scared or frightened or anything like that. They just don't say those words. But when you hurtle down to the old style Beechers book, is there anything inside you at that moment thinking, this could be the end?
No, you don't think that. But most jockey, well, I would say every jockey in the National is nervous. They were in them days over them fences. They'd all be nervous, and it'd be a mixture of nervous and excitement. But there'd always be a tiny bit. You're thinking, I want to come out the day in one piece and be able to drive out. Anyone who says any different is probably not telling the truth.
Yeah, I found it, Carl, the National especially, was just like, in the weigh room, it was a whole different atmosphere. Some of the quieter people became louder, and some of the louder people became quieter. It was so different, and yeah, like my personal experience was
pulling up.
You'd be no, but you would be nervous. But the part of the National I'll always remember is the start. Like it's so different to Cheltenham. You've got so many people so close to you going absolutely mental, and all you're looking at is the starter. Please let me go. Let's get this moving. Let's get on with it. That's how it used to be for me.
Yeah, I agree. The weighing room is totally different just for that race, for that one race. People are just agitated and they can't sit still. And as you say, the opposite. Some people who are normally quiet can be can't shut up, and the opposite as well. It does affect people, but it's just a massive adrenaline rush, isn't it, Paddy? For the whole day, even from the moment you wake up, you're just so excited. Plus, there's a little bit of nerves and adrenaline, and also not wanting to mess up. There's a lot of things to go wrong to go well in the race, and you don't want to be responsible, really. You've got a lot of responsibility to everyone, really, connections and whatever, punters.
I've done a little feature on the At The Races website with Paddy about his experiences at Aintree, Carl, and he gave me what I thought for him was a terrific line, actually. He said, Cheltenham is a bit like a skiing holiday. You have to concentrate and there's pressure. Aintree is more like a beach holiday and you can just enjoy it. Is that fair?
Yeah, very much so. Cheltenham was very, very professional. And then Aintree, in them days, things have changed a lot now, but in them days, everyone would go out and they'd stay away for a few days and they'd go out and enjoy themselves. And it was a much more relaxed. It was more of a party atmosphere. And whether that's got to do with the place and the Liverpool people who are like that, they just go, we were talking about this morning in the yard, they just go, they have a good time and they all get on well, and the Liverpool people come in and they just have a fantastic few days there.
You rode in the National that never was. What was that like?
Was that the false start?
Yeah. No, well, they went with S&S when S&S won it, but then it was a void National, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was horrendous. That was probably one of my worst days ever. Because I think as people know me, I'm not, the glass isn't always half full, but I think I'd have won that day.
Who were you on?
Party Politics again.
Oh.
And he was in better form that year than he was when he won. And he was running away after a circuit. And so when I pulled up, yeah, that was one of my worst days on the race course anyway.
I love that, Pad. I was working for the Racing Post then. He's a very young reporter. And we were all packed off. There was nowhere to go. But I got really lucky. I got packed off to a Liverpool student union and had a tremendous night. It was just fantastic. It couldn't have gone better, to be quite frank. I was almost like Carl Llewellyn for an evening. It was tremendous. Anyway, that's another story. And also the bomb scare. Were you around for that?
Yeah, I rode in that. And we went in our breeches to a house around the corner.
Not for the first time.
They gave us some sandwiches and coffee and like this into their front room. There's about 5 of us there, and office clothes. Then we went into Liverpool for the night out in our breeches and riding boots, and then we checked out of all our hotels, so we had nowhere to stay. So the only person who was staying the night was Paul Carberry, and he was in the Adelphi in a single room, and 12 of us stayed in the single room. On the floor, obviously on the floor, it was no room, but yeah, we were just straddled all over the room, 12 of us that night. We didn't get to bed till very late, but yeah, I do remember that well. So we'd been out most of the night in our breeches and riding boots and gear, so it was, yeah, memorable. My memory's bad, but I can remember that.
Tell me about Earth Summit, because I think he's still the only horse to have won the Welsh National, Scottish National and Grand National. Not even Red Run managed to do that. It was a great year, 1998, Earth Summit, and he just was a proper stayer.
Yeah, he was a fantastic horse. The opposite to Paddy Brennan, he was small and short, stocky, but again, a brilliant jumper. So I was very lucky to get on him again through Tom Jenks breaking his leg. So both of mine was from someone breaking the legs. Yeah, he won three nationals, and all with different jockeys. Dave Bridgewater in the Welsh, Tom Jenks in the Scottish, and myself in the national. But he was a fantastic horse to ride, very straightforward, very brave with blinkers on, and very the opposite without blinkers. He'd jump away from a crisp packet without blinkers on, but when he had blinkers on, he was very brave. And he was a very straightforward, easy ride. Didn't have to do a lot. And even bad riding would have got him beat, but anything else he'd have won. So luckily, it went well.
Stable have got Broadway Boy and Beauport. Everyone's going to be talking about Beauport because he carries the colours of Corbière, who won in 1983, and also I think gave Peter Scudamore his best ever ride in the Grand National when third. Broadway Boy is the apple of everyone's eye, but to be quite frank, keeps disappointing. However much Willie Twiston Davis talks him up as this monster, he's not quite doing it on the track at the moment, but they've put a bit of headgear on him. Which of those two? Don't you really train Beauport?
Well, I know the owners very well, so I describe myself as their racing manager, and they don't disagree with that. So, yeah, I've a fair bit to do with him. But Broadway Boy is, his second in the Hennessy was a great run, and he's had a couple of disappointing runs since then, but we don't really know why. He missed the break a little bit at Cheltenham the other day and got behind, and some of his best form was when most of his best form was when he's been very handy. So we don't know. Maybe he needs to be handy, but he's obviously a very good horse, and if he takes to it and travels, he could run a great race.
Beauport's done the hurdling thing, going back chasing now. I mean, in many ways, he does look like the ideal type because he's had enough speed. I mean, in the old days, I just thought he was slow as an old boat, Beauport. But if he's had enough speed to nearly win a long walk, he really ought to have enough pace for a Grand National.
I agree, you're dead right. We thought he was slower than he's proving at the moment. We did think he was a real slow boat that needed extreme conditions and very soft ground. This year over hurdles, and at the chase at Ascot, the ground wasn't soft. He seems to have got quicker at this age. Haydock as well in the Rendlesham, he showed plenty of speed, so maybe he's getting quicker. I wish the ground was a bit softer. I wish it was, soft or heavy even, because he's shown his best form on that. But he's had a good preparation, so that hopefully they both go there with every chance.
And Carl, I just got one other last question regarding the Grand National. I was lucky enough to ride it when there was the older fences. Like, you speak to a lot of the jockeys, you walk the track a lot of them. How different do you think it is tactically to ride the Grand National now? Do you think they go faster? Like what? Just like to hear your thoughts on that.
I think it's totally different. You can't even compare the two races now. I walked the course a couple of years ago with some Irish jockeys who hadn't been round there to show them round, and we've seen some of the fences that they hadn't put the spruce on them, and they couldn't believe how small they were. They said that most courses in Ireland, the fences would be bigger than the national fences now. They're just easy fix plastic fences with a bit of spruce on top. So it's a totally different race. Before it was more skill required. The jumping was a real test. And it was a test of a horse and rider, much more of a test. Whereas now it's just an ordinary 4-mile chase really round the old national course, with obviously a few fences on angles and things like that. But totally different race. So people will ride this race now the same as they'll ride, the Scottish National and things like that, or any sort of long staying race. They'll ride it. They'll ride this race similar to that. So you can't compare them. It's just a totally different race, and it's completely changed. And it's different skills now. Different emphasis on speed now and fast jumping as opposed to clearing the fences and not hitting fences. Obviously used to take energy out of horses and and you have more fallers and more loose horses. So it's a totally different race.
It's lovely to speak to you and to
thanks,
see you.
Gareth.
And you know, we're speaking on this show to Bob Champion, and you've had a little cancer scare along the way. We know what Bob's done. It's great that both of you are fit and well and doing so well. So really appreciate you joining us, and well done with your 2 Grand National successes compared to Paddy's 15 pulled ups in the greatest race of them all. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well done. Thanks,
No
Carl.
bother.
Thank you.
Cheers, Pat. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Now, of course, the Grand National. This is the moment all our listeners have been waiting for. Paddy, what I asked you to do is pick out 4 against the field, which is what I've done. Specifically, I asked you not to tell me your 4. I don't know what they are. I've got mine written down, so there's no changing, because I always think people can influence what you fancy. So you go with your top 4 and your reasons why for each one.
Hewick.
Who? Hewick?
Yeah.
Oh, Hewick. Right, okay.
I just think Everton's coming in his favour. I think he's a Grade 1 horse. He'll love the ground. The one question mark obviously is the fences. But if he
Only you could say that.
if he takes to it,
Yeah, there are a few of them.
if he takes to the fences, and I've seen him in school, he looked to love it. If he gets into a rhythm under one of the best jockeys riding at the minute, Gavin Sheehan, he has got a big chance, Matt.
Gorgeous, Gav. Okay. Hewick to
Yeah.
be first.
Hewick to be first. Percival Galas, is that how you say it?
We'll take that.
Yeah, I thought no one's horse are in better form. I thought he had a big chance, consistent form. I thought he could be second. Third, Beauport. Nigel Twiston Davis, record in this race needs no introduction. Sam Twiston rides. Yes, he likes slower ground, but if he gets into a rhythm, he's got some outstanding form this year. I think he'll run a massive race. And fourth, Manila Cocooner. Good jockey booking in Johnny Burke. Gets into a nice rhythm. Again, run a massive race.
Okay. I have one of your 4.
Right.
So, my first place in the 2025 Randox Grand National will be the same horse who won the 2024 Grand National. I Am Maximus. This time last year, I Am Maximus bolted up. He's got up from 159 to 167. But I don't think £8 would have stopped him last year. Now, the negatives will say he's been absolutely hopeless in his 2 runs this year. And no one can deny that. He has been hopeless. But he's got the back class. I'm presuming he's only been trained for 1 race. And the way this race is designed now, I think suits him. He's a big horse. He can carry weight. If he's anywhere like the form of last year, I think he'll just go and win it again. So I Am Maximus to be first. In second place, Vanillier. Now, Vanillier nearly took the wrong course in the cross country. I'm pretty sure he'd have beaten Stumptown if that hadn't happened. He was finishing off strongly. He's run well in the Grand National before. He was second to Corrick Rambler, rated 147. I think he comes into this rated 147. So he's on the same mark as when he was second before, and he comes off a big run, and the ground's perfect. In third place, Minella Kakuna, you had for fourth, I've got for third, goes on the ground, stays, has got back form that gives him every chance. And in fourth place, I'm going to go the former Gold Cup hero and Grand National placer Minella Indo, who brings in the back class, hasn't done an awful lot recently, but has surely been laid out for this, and he's a massive price. He's around 33 to 1 for a horse who's gone close before. He was third last year. Weights aren't that much different. I don't really see why he can't go well again, because again, he's got that class in a race where it's not just about getting round now, and you don't necessarily need younger legs. I just think he's got the class. So those are my 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything in my 4 you would totally diss?
There isn't, no, to be honest. It's a Grand National, Matt. Anyone can win it. That's what makes it such a great race.
I mean, I love that because we've effectively come up with 7 different horses.
Yeah.
And neither of us would. Well, there was one of yours I wasn't absolutely
Which one?
sure. The Palace. The blah, blah, blah.
The what?
The Palace. The blah, blah, blah. That one. But those are the 7. So yeah, that's what's going to happen in the Grand National.
And this year, it's a bit earlier the race, isn't it?
4 o'clock.
There's 2 last few years. There's only been 1 race after the National. This year there's 2, so they've obviously brought it back a little bit.
You Brave Man's Game and Can Do Kid don't get in our first 4, but we've talked quite positively about both of them on this show over the last 21 episodes.
No, I haven't talked positively about Brave Man's Game. Have you?
I thought you ran okay at Newbury last time.
Right.
Earlier on, we spoke to Llewellyn, who won the Grand National twice. But as far as stories go, and don't. No one should fall for the nonsense that there's a story behind every Grand National winner, because to be quite frank, there's a story behind every horse that runs in any race any day of the year. It's just at the Grand National they get told a bit more. But when it comes to stories, Bob Champion probably, I think, has the best as far as the Grand National is concerned. It was made into a movie, Champions. He has done incredible work for cancer charities over the years. Incredible. I can't emphasize that enough. And it's a real pleasure to welcome him to the show right now. Bob Champion, welcome to Unbridled. Thanks for coming on.
Morning, boys. Hope you're in good form.
We are. And what's much more important is that you are, Bob, as well. And you know what? When I was driving in today, I was thinking, I'll talk to you. And then I thought, you know what? We get a lot of young people watching Unbridled that probably don't know the Aldeniti story. It's 1981 now. Obviously, a certain ilk of person knows all about it. So, Bob, can you just take us back 2 years before the Grand National? So you've got this horse Aldeniti who has a bad leg issue. You've got Bob Champion, the jockey. And in a relatively short period of time, can you fill us in what happened between 1979 and you winning the Grand National?
Well, I had a fantastic season up to 79. I always used to go to America every summer because there was no racing in England those days, jumping anyway. And so I had to earn a little bit of a living. And I had a kick at Stratford on one of Nicky Henderson's horses. And I jumped the last. I don't know what happened anyway. It crossed his legs or something and fell halfway up the run-in. And I got up before it. He got up and kicked me between the legs and didn't think any more about it. And then went to America and I kept getting these pains and everything. And basically, I was seeing a vet actually at the time, a lady vet, mind you.
Yeah.
And she thought it'd be a good idea to come back to England and see a specialist. And that's how it all started. I had testicular cancer and had nothing to do with the kick. And the treatment started. And I was in the Royal Marsden having treatment for 7 or 8 months. And that brought me round to 1980. And January the 1st, I can always remember it, the thought of the start of a new year. You know, let's hope things will be better. And took me 6 or 7 months to get fit. I went back to America to get fit, mind you, because the weather was nicer over there and I found it a lot more easy to breathe, actually, because I'd lost about 40% of lung capacity. So going back to the States got me fitter quicker, I must admit. I rode my first winners back out there, double reefed in Saratoga, and then I came back to England.
There are little bits in there as well, which I just want to bring up. The first one is that Josh Gifford, who was the trainer of Aldeniti, and of course now Nick Gifford, his son, is still training. Josh would come and see you in the hospital, and they'd kind of keep saying to you, the ride on Aldeniti is waiting for you, while in the background really never thinking that you would make it. But in the movie in particular, and I'm sure this is a reality, there was a really special moment where you walked past or walked into the children's ward one day in the hospital, and it was that view of kids with cancer that really drove you on.
That is true, actually. I was giving up. And the nurses said to me, just, Bob, go and have a walk around the hospital or outside and think about it, because I was going home that day and packing it all up. And I saw these kids in the ward, and I thought, well, if they can go through with it, why can't I? I was ashamed of myself in a way, I must admit, but got back and started the treatment, and thankfully I got through it.
So 1981 comes up. You win the Grand National on Alderney. As I said, this was a horse that had basically been in almost as bad a state as you, had a really bad leg injury 2 years earlier. So he'd come back from nearly the dead. You came back from nearly the dead, and you win the Grand National. And in doing so, you beat John Thorne, who was about 100 years old as well. So there was even a story with Spartan Missile in the runner-up spot. It was just the most magnificent result for the race for so many reasons, not only then, Bob, but also since then.
Yes, basically I always thought Alderney would win a national for years and years. He kept breaking down, he kept having problems. And basically when he broke down at Sandown, when I was having the treatment, the vets wanted to put him down, and the Embricoses always remember that when I won on him at Leicester one day, I said he'd win a Grand National one day, and they took the horse back, and he was in the box in plaster for 6 months, just tied up, eating, couldn't move, and he was a tremendous patient. And then it was all down to the Embricoses, did all the road work, and then Josh was the genius getting him back there. And I can always remember him getting him back, his first run back at Ascot on February the 13th, and he absolutely bolted up, and everybody had a few quid on him because he was 66-1 for the National. And, basically he started 10-1 second favourite. So things happened so quickly in the next 6 weeks.
Morning, Bob, or good afternoon. Bob, I must go to your film, movie. I remember going through a period in my career where I needed just a bit of a lift, and I watched it, and it really lifted me. I thought it was unbelievable. Like the story, if you haven't watched it, you really need to believe it. And when it comes around to the National, Bob, we all sort of think Bob Champion and the stories, what have you. But I said to Matt, Sir Bob Champion, I'm an Irishman, but and people get knighted in this country, and I think you should be. You're an absolute legend.
I'm very lucky. I've got a CBE, and that means an awful lot to me. And I've been very fortunate.
I mean, I agree with Pad though. Like, if anyone watches this in any form of power, Sir Bob Champion, and the reason for that, Bob, again, because young people won't probably even understand or realise. Like, if you're in your late teens, early 20s. You might not have even heard of Bob Champion outside of cancer circles. But I know you're very modest about this stuff, Bob, but give us the figure today that the Bob Champion Cancer Trust has raised so far.
Getting on for 17 million. But, we've got 2 research laboratories we run, one in London at the Royal Marsden and one in Norwich in the Science Park. And, we built them, we fund them, and we get nothing from the government or anything. And we employ the scientists, and they are very good scientists. We only employ the best, and they're coming up with the goods, which is the main thing.
And you know what, Paddy? Bob might not even remember this, and there's no reason, because he'll have done this. And the reason I bring this story up is because he'll have done it so many times. So when I was a journalist on the Racing Post, which is quite a few years ago now, my dad got cancer, yeah? And he died probably, 26, 7 years ago. But I wanted to try and give him some inspiration, like try and make him have the moment that Bob had when he saw those kids in the hospital. So I wrote to Bob, and I wrote to John Joe O'Neill, who had both recovered from cancer, and said, if you have a moment, and they wouldn't have known me from Adam, I don't think. They might have just about seen a few things I'd written, but it wasn't like now where they kind of know who you are and they just put the phone down straight away. They actually answered then. And Bob did write to my dad without any hesitation, and John Joe O'Neill did write to my dad without any hesitation. And my mum still has those letters in a folder and treasures them dearly. And Bob, I mention that not really because of my old man, but because I imagine if I've done that, you must have written hundreds of letters of support, thousands possibly, to people over the years. And just words of inspiration from you will have meant so much to so many people.
I have written, as you say, hundreds, maybe thousands of letters. And it's always been brilliant when I've got a letter back saying, thanks for the letter, I've got over it. That means an awful lot to me, I must admit.
Mm-hmm. The race has changed, Bob, but there's still something special about the Grand National. I don't know, have you looked at this week's race at all yet? Have you studied it? Is there a horse in there you really are looking forward to seeing?
Well, I think Stumptown will win, actually. And I've been following him for a long time, actually. I've always thought he's a real national horse. But now he's favourite, and favourites do win a national. But it's a very open race this year, I must admit. And, it'll be a good race, as it always is. And I know things have changed from Paddy and I. The fences are a lot easier, but the horses are getting round, which is the most important thing. And it's still a very big, good spectacle.
That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as well, Matt and Bob, it's still the race that gets us as a family around the table and we pick our horses. And that's only one race a year, really, the Grand National, where families come together and friends and you pick a horse for the Grand National. It's still got that. And yeah, I cannot wait to see it on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's about, Bob, people at home having a little bet. And in this day and age in the world of horse racing, if we can still make people feel it's okay to have a bet on a horse race and you're not going to destroy your life or something if you do that, while that goes on, horse racing will go on, essentially.
Yes, they will. It's you need the big races, you need the derbies, you need whitbreads, all these good races to keep the people interested. I personally think there's too much racing at the moment. I'm not in favour of the summer jumping, I must admit. It's diluting jump racing a little bit, but that's how times have gone.
Bob, many would agree with you. It's such a privilege and honour to have you on the show today, both Paddy and myself.
Yeah, absolutely, Bob.
Yeah.
Best ever guest, I mean that.
Yeah, and both of us.
Thank you, Paddy.
Well, and he doesn't say much nice about anyone, to be fair, Bob. So
yeah.
You've come out with a result there. But yeah, both of us would have you Sir Bob Champion. But I think the best thing about you, Bob, is your surname. The word champion couldn't have been given to a better person in every sense. You are a Grand National hero, but to be honest, your legacy one day will be so much bigger than that for all the families you have helped through Bob Champion's Cancer Trust along the year. And we would emphasise to anyone watching this show today, if you've got a spare £1, a spare £5, stick it in the Bob Cancer Trust, because it will go to the best places and a place where all of us might need it one day. Bob, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much.
Nice to see you. See you up at Aintree if you're up there.
Yeah, good man. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Good man, Bob. It was lovely to speak to you today, most of the time. It was lovely to speak to Carl Llewellyn, but Bob Champion, for all he's done, a horse race has created ultimately 70 million quid for cancer. That in itself just shows how special this sport is, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What a man.
Shall we end by just saying, if you're watching out there and you're in power, one day, let's make it Sir Bob Champion.
Sir Bob Champion.